Welcome to She Considers a Field podcast with coach, encourager, and fellow entrepreneur and homeschooling mama of four, Anna McLaughlin. As a homeschooling entrepreneur, you are uniquely positioned to impact the kingdom of God both deep through your investment in your children and wide through your business. And yet guilt, frustration, and overwhelm can hold you back from all that God has for you. Come with me on a journey to walk in deeper peace, purpose, and joy, because God has given you a legacy to build, and I'm here to help you enjoy the ride. Hello, and welcome to the latest episode of She Considers a Field. Somehow it's June. I don't understand it myself, but somehow it is June when you are listening to this recording. And today we're going to talk about a very important topic, and I want you to hang with me and be willing to sit really curious, because we're going to talk about tips to increase your income this summer. Okay, I know how it goes. Even as homeschool moms, and I know some of you guys who listen are not homeschool moms, but we can tend to kind of think, oh, well, it's summertime. It's time to hang out with the kids. It's time to relax. But then we hit the fall, we start to feel really scarce, and we start to feel a lot of doubt. And so, this is the time that I'm actually going to encourage you, women of faith, to lean in to your businesses, to lean into good stewardship, even in the midst of play, we need rest, we need levity in our lives. But what can happen is we can kind of like start to go too far in one ditch, too far in another. I started a new business in the fall of last year and went full bore, all in. And then I started this podcast at the beginning of this year. And y'all, I was like, I need a break. I need a break from my business. Well, guess what happened? When I took a break from my other business, I started to lose belief that I knew how to do it. And then the more that I lost belief, the less I did in the business. And the less I did in the business, the more it fueled the unbelief until I reached a point where I looked at my husband and said, I don't know how to earn an income there. I made the whole thing up. Made the whole thing up. Keeping in motion sustains our belief. Okay. So rest. By all means, rest. But take this podcast as your opportunity to rest with intention. And what I mean by that is set the table for your summer. Make a decision ahead of time. Here is how this summer will play out as far as my work and my rest. Here is the balance that's going to suit our family well, leaving lots of space for play, leaving lots of space for warm days at the pool, leaving lots of space for trips to the beach or whatever the summertime looks like for your family. And if you're going to the beach, y'all know I have a place at Oak Island, North Carolina. Message me if you want the code for that. Okay. Actually, I'll drop it in the show notes. Even better. Okay. So we're talking about strategies for increasing our income, because I don't know if anybody else has noticed, but it's getting kind of tight out there. Grocery prices are rising, inflation's up. So many people are either looking for an alternative stream of income or are looking for ways to maximize their current stream of income. So, we're going to spend some time during the summer talking about money. This is a topic I think women of God, I think we can get a little skittish around, because there can almost be this pie in the sky, like, oh, whatever happens, happens, and the Lord will provide. Yes, He will. Yes, He will provide. But so too are we called to labor. Okay. And so we kind of work out our walk with Him with intention. And as women of faith earn an income, a couple of things happen. And listen, if there happens to be somebody who's listening to a podcast called She Considers a Field who doesn't feel called to the marketplace, I'm so glad you're here. Welcome. Be part of the conversation as long as it serves you. Like, this is for you too. But the specific episode, we're talking about money. So here we go. Money and work. If you feel called to the marketplace, as you step into greater service and you allow people to compensate you for your service, first, you're actually carrying out the role of paraclete with your husband in another respect. There are many ways that we support our husbands. There are many ways that we stand alongside them and be that helpmeet that we're called to be. Okay, that Ezer that we're called to be. But one of the ways can be financial. And I will never forget there was this fabulous, fabulous post that was making its rounds in social media like a year or so ago. And it talked about, as a wife, that we need to understand what our particular spouse needs, what their top supports would be, their top picks. And so I asked my husband, and this post recommended ask for his top 3. I can't do everything well, but I can do 3 things well. What are the 3 things, okay? And when I asked my husband for the 3 things, one of them was make time for your work, because when you earn an income, it lifts the burden off of my shoulders. And it kind of blew my mind. I was like, "What?" And, like, my husband's an amazing provider, he takes his role very seriously. He wasn't saying, "Oh, good, I can sit on the couch and relax." He was saying, "This burden weighs so heavily on me, making sure that our children are well provided for, making sure that I'm tending to our flock well, that when I know you're in motion too, it's actually easing the burden on my shoulders." Now, this is not going to be every spouse, but it's mine, okay? And I think that more often than not, our men do carry this provider burden. And so when we say, "Here's a couple $100. Hey, I earned 500 bucks last month in my business, and I thought maybe that could cover, going out for a date night a couple times this month," or whatever it is. There can be this like this exhale breath for our partners that can be very powerful. The other thing that happens is when the money comes into the family coffers of a Christian home, we get to use that money to advance the kingdom of God. My husband and I were just talking about this the other day. Won't it be fun when we can be radically generous in this way? Won't it be so fun when we can provide for other people in this way? God's purposes can be advanced in powerful ways whenever his children have resources, and those resources may be financial, they may be hospitality, it might be love and grace, it might be all kinds of things, but this is one way that we can advance the kingdom of God. Okay, so we're going to kind of like we'll tussle with money stories over the coming weeks and months. Okay, but today we're going to keep it really simple, and we're just going to talk about how do we bring money in. What does that look like? Okay. And we're actually going to start with the back side of it, which is one of the most powerful ways that we can bring money in is actually by regarding it as precious and reducing our expenses. Okay. So I was actually just I have a coach myself, and there was a period of time where I didn't have one. It's been so fun to have one supporting me again, and it just reminds me all over again the power of coaching, which is what I do as well. And so if you've been sitting there on the fence and going, "I don't know, I want more in life, I'm feeling a little stuck," book an exploratory call with me. We're going to get some wins under your belt even from that free call, and you can see whether coaching would be a fit for you. So in talking to my coach, we were talking about my money stories. And he was just kind of talking about the nuts and bolts of money, and he talked about, "Listen, when you walk into the grocery store and you fill up your cart and then you intentionally decide to put a couple of things back because you're like, 'I don't need these things,' we can tell ourselves, 'Oh, that's what I do when I don't have enough.'" And he said, "It's time to flip the script and instead say, 'This is what I do when I'm regarding my resources as precious.'" I'm gonna say that again. "This is what I do when I regard my resources as precious." When we really lean into this idea of, I am going to honor the things the Lord has put in my hands, including my cash, including the dollars and cents and pennies, and regard those as valuable, as highly valuable, then we are stepping into a deeper level of stewardship, and the Lord will honor us in the same measure. He's gonna say, "Okay, you value what I have given you. I'm gonna teach you how to value it even more. I'm going to trust you with more." And it may be more money, but it may be more of other things that we hold dear, okay? And so it's part of faithful stewardship to go, do I really need like the $10 creamer instead of the $5 creamer? Okay, so we start to ask these questions and we start to regard money as precious as though we didn't have enough, but not from a place of scarcity, from a place of respect. Okay. So the first thing that we can do is flip through those expenses, get really clear. And this, I loved what my coach said. He was like, "We cancel things just for fun and just see who picks them up again." Cancel the Netflix subscription. And then, like, 3 or 4 months could go by before anybody missed it. And then his kids would be like, "Hey, what about that subscription?" He just turns it back on again. When they don't need it, they turn it off. Think about how many things we leave running in the background that are costing us money that we don't actually need. Okay? So that's our first step is we're just going to take a look at those expenses. And instead of going, I can't cut anymore. There's there's not possibly anything else I could cut. We get really curious and go, what like where could I cut? Instead of I couldn't cut anymore, where could I cut? Can we drive in one car instead of in two cars? Can we walk instead of drive? Can we can we clip some coupons? Can we meal plan? Can we eat oatmeal for breakfast for 3 mornings instead of eating bacon and eggs every morning? Okay. All right. So that's the first thing we're going to do. The second thing is we look at our income, okay? And this is why I love entrepreneurship so very much because our income can actually be scaled in proportion to our value that we're adding in the marketplace. And y'all, I'm going to introduce you to the Go Giver. I'm going to introduce you to the Go Giver, and it's going to change your life because it's the best. It is one of the best books out there on truly walking in business, servant-oriented business. But that's not today. Oh, I really wanna talk about it. Nope, we're not okay, so we're not. We're not. I'm gonna keep this really simple, and we're gonna dig into the principles of the Go Giver on another episode, so just stay tuned. It's coming. There's so much good stuff to talk about. But let's talk really simply about income, and we're gonna talk about it from the perspective of the first book that changed my life as far as becoming an entrepreneur, which was Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. So the premise of Rich Dad Poor Dad is Robert Kiyosaki talks about he calls them his two dads. His biological father, the man who raised him, and then his best friend's father. His biological father went to a traditional school, worked a traditional job, went on to have the retirement and the accolades and all of these kinds of things, then had some sort of dispute within his workplace and ended up living out the end of his days pretty much broke. His poor dad never went to college, maybe even didn't finish high school, but he was scrappy. And he went out and built businesses and ended up going on to basically retire at a young age, build a multi-million dollar real estate organization, teach Robert Kiyosaki everything he knew. The rest is history. Okay. So Robert Kiyosaki underscored this principle that blew my mind. At the time, I was driving back and forth 45 minutes commute to my law firm, the job I worked for 5.5 years, leaving my infant and then toddler daughter at home, crying for mommy at the end of the afternoon, and I'm still trying to get home in traffic. It was all kinds of hard. And I would listen to audiobooks. Just happened to grab this one because it was bright purple, and I was like, "Why not?" Kind of an interesting title. Well, what he talked about in that book was that there are 4 different ways to earn income in our lives. We can be employed. Someone pays you for your time and you go and work. We can be self-employed, doctors, lawyers if they're partners in their law firm, plumbers, anybody who owns their own company where they are out there working, okay? Massage therapists, hairstylists, investors, and business owners. And he said the true path to wealth is found in being in the latter 2 categories, the last 2 categories, investor and business owner. Because in those 2 categories, you are no longer trading your time for money. In the first 2 categories, your earning is capped based on your skills and your time capacity. Okay? So, for example, let's talk about my life as a lawyer. I got a starting salary. It was a great starting salary, but it was a starting salary nonetheless, that was going to raise as I progressed. And if I didn't work, I didn't get paid. If I decided I wasn't gonna show up for a month or 2 months or 3 months, no money would be coming in because they'd fire me, right? My earning potential was capped by the marketplace. How much people would pay a lawyer, how much skill I could earn, and if I reached a point where I couldn't work anymore, that was the end of the money. Self-employed, similarly, you trade your time for money. So you get to keep more of it because it's your business, but if you don't show up for work, then you don't get paid. Think about a hairstylist, okay? She's got her clients, she's got them coming in her chair. If she's just starting out, maybe she's making 50 bucks a cut. If she becomes some sort of all-star, you know, runway model, Hollywood, whatever, maybe she's charging $300-400 a cut, but still, if sh I don't even know. I don't know what the limit is. I'm sure it's high. Even still, if she doesn't show up and work, if she cannot work, or if she needs a vacation, or there's a health thing, or she wants to raise her babies from home, or whatever it is, if she does not show up and work that chair, she does not get paid. Okay? Flip side, investors. You take your money that you have earned and you put it into something that is a passive stream of income. Okay. So, for example, you earn money at your job or you're self employed and you earn an income and you put that money towards real estate. You put that money towards Kiyosaki's a big fan of truly passive assets where no matter what, you're getting money in your pocket. So, for example, he would say, don't flip a house because you're working for that. Buy a piece. It's not that you can't, but just that the true passive income comes when you purchase a piece of real estate as an investment property, when you purchase preferred stock that pays a dividend, where there's no it's not that there's no market risk, but that your income is coming in independent of what the stock is doing in the market. Okay. So when you buy an investment, then you've got money being put in your pocket. And he encouraged this exercise. It's a little sobering, but all things can be changed in a much shorter period of time than we realize. He talked about taking a look at the things we spend money on and getting really clear on what we own that are assets and what we own that are liabilities. So at the time, I was working in this big law firm, plenty of money coming in, and we would just there's this great meme that talks about little treat culture is getting really out of hand, it says. You guys may have seen it. It circulates around a lot. Little treat culture is getting really out of hand. Why do we need a $5 Starbucks coffee just because we did something adult like go to the bank? And then there's a comment to that tweet or whatever it was that says, sounds like somebody needs a little treat. It was so fabulous. Okay, so little treat culture. I was living little treat culture before I even knew that was a thing. Hard day at work, go buy a pair of shoes. Tough season at my job, big deal going on. Head on over and stay at a nice hotel in town. We wouldn't even leave town. We just stay in town because we just needed a break, right? And so what did I realize when I'm listening to Robert Kiyosaki talk? All these things we're buying are liabilities. The definition that he has for assets as opposed to liabilities are assets are the things that put money into your pocket. Liabilities are the things that take money out of your pocket. So pretty much everything that we go and buy, I'm going to just say everything we go and buy at the store is a liability. Everything takes money out of your pocket, doesn't give anything back to you. Okay. Unless you're turning it around and you're monetizing it as a business idea. Okay. Like my daughter is always coming up with lemonade stands. And why don't we sell some sort of art thing that we're doing or cookies? Okay. You can turn it into a business. But barring that, it's a liability. So what are assets? Kiyosaki has a very conservative definition: preferred stocks, real estate that you're holding long, okay, or real estate investment trust, that type of thing. Anything that if you didn't show up, you didn't touch it, it's still paying you. Okay. Other people would say, even if you have to manage it a little bit, as long as you know what you're doing, it's an asset. So, for example, going and buying an index fund in the stock market because over time it's going to go up. Okay. Going and buying a building that you're going to flip because you're going to make a profit. So, wherever you fall on that spectrum, the point is we're putting our money to work to make more money, which, by the way, is what we're called to do in the parable of the talents. There we are again, right back in Matthew. Okay. The parable of the talents. The the faithful servants went out and invested money. So, although in the kingdom of God we can be a little uncomfortable talking about money, that is one of the ways that we can expand his kingdom. It's something that he gave us to use that we can use for good or for ill. And I'm just going to offer the suggestion that if we're squandering it on chips and Starbucks runs, whereas we could be putting it to work in the marketplace to then go and take those earnings and sow them into kingdom work, it's something that we need to actively consider. How can I be stewarding even this thing that I'm tempted to view as kind of base and worldly? How can I steward this thing well? And in fact, all the more important that we steward the worldly things well. Okay, that we not let them own us, that we not let them be distractions, that we not let them be things that we just really don't engage with and pretend they're not like they're not something that we need to really um, talk about or deal with. They're there. He gave money. He gave money to us. Okay, so what do we do with it? How do we steward it well? Okay, listen, Mama, with as many different things as you're juggling, I'll bet some days you struggle to remember to eat breakfast. Failing to take care of yourself not only dampens your joy, but it also impacts your ability to serve those you love the most. And yet, you need an easy solution, something that will give you maximum impact without being crazy complicated. Sound about right? Let me share with you my favorite supplement and the only one of its kind, Modaire's Liquid Collagen. Since taking it, I've found more energy, more mental margin, and fewer lines and wrinkles too. My hair is also growing like crazy. One product helps me look better and feel better, and it tastes great too. Interested? Click the link below for a free quiz to figure out which blend is right for you, and then follow the steps to get free shipping and $25 off your order. Because healthy, well fortified mamas build powerful legacies. Business owners. This is interesting. This is where if we don't show up to work, money can still come in. Okay. You buy a coffee shop and you hire employees and train them to work in the coffee shop. If you're not there, they can still sell product. There's still a profitable day. Okay. Massage therapist or hairdresser builds a business, purchases a building or rents out space and rents out chairs or massage chairs or whatever it is. People pay her a fee. So if she's not working, she's still making a cut of their profits. Okay? Direct sales. Okay? You start a business, you bring other people on and train them on how to do that business. And when you are taking a vacation, you have empowered them to earn their own income and you are still earning a percentage of that. Okay. And listen, I'm just going to throw this out there. If you have opinions about direct sales and MLMs, like I've walked this road for a long time. I was in a traditional direct sales company for 8 years. I've chosen a different model called social retail that I believe is much more powerful because it encourages, it's built so that you're actually able to earn very well without building a team. And it does have that leveraged piece where people can get started on the products that you share. And then as you train them, okay, so in a traditional direct sales, it's like you train your team. And then when you train your team, they go out and do, and then you earn an income. Okay. Social retail, you're actually training your customers to have high buy in on the products that are going to transform their lives, the product that I share about anyway. And then there's still that continued connection, there's still that continued service, but the work that you're putting in is highly leveraged. And so you put in that high amount of investment to help them get understanding on, hey, this is how this is going to serve and support you. And then it's these lighter touches over time. Okay. So it's a leveraged form of income. You can also do it by building a team as well. So if you have opinions about MLM direct sales that are really like elevated of just like, "Oh, I hate that." The posts of like, "I never buy MLM," right? The posts on Facebook, "Give me your best solutions ever. I'm open to everything except for this subcategory of products just because I don't like the way the financial piece is structured." Let's work through that. Let's work through that because I started out with that bias, you guys, and when I was like, "Oh, I don't do those. I don't buy from those things. I don't like that." Why? Because I felt uncomfortable. I felt uncomfortable, and because of that, I missed out on a really beautiful opportunity to support my friends. I missed out on a beautiful opportunity to learn about a product that could have served me very well. And so I just wanna encourage you guys, it's important that we be wise as we're looking at if we're looking at a way to earn leveraged income, those structures can be really beautiful. The compensation plan matters. Okay? The compensation plan matters, and it's important to really understand what is the product I'm sharing? How does the compensation plan align with the way the product works? What's the likelihood for continuity of income? As people buy, are they going to continue to buy because they're continuing to be well served by the product? This is not it's not predatory. To help somebody get on a product that's going to serve and support them well and change their life, and you help them do that at a high level because you actually know how to serve them, and you can say, "I know this is going to help you, and I care about you because I'm actually in your life. I'm not Target, right? I'm right here. I'm in your neighborhood. I'm at MOPS with you," or whatever it is. When we can help somebody in that way, that is a legitimate business. So if you're in direct sales, MLM, social retail, whatever, it's time to stop apologizing for it. You have a real business and it really matters. Okay. And if you have some thoughts about MLM, social retail, direct sales, whatever it is, come talk to me. Let's have a conversation because I was right there with you. And my judgments kept me from finding some blessings. Okay. Including a stream of income that was very life changing for our family. So little rabbit trail on that. It's something I'm really passionate about because it's been an industry that I've been a part of for a really long time. I've seen the good side, I've seen the challenges. I think just like everything else, we need wisdom as we walk this out. We need to understand ourselves, we need to understand the business that we're entering into. We need to look around us and see who's being successful, how are they being successful, what does it take? And then we step into what we feel is the next call from God. The thing I will and I'm just going to say this. This is my last thing on this. I did not expect to go on this rabbit trail, but you know me. I will say this. My favorite thing about this model is it takes so much of the pressure and heaviness around starting a business off your shoulders. So if you are looking for okay, so here's what I want to say. This is all about increasing your income, right? If you're looking for a way to increase your income this summer, take a look at a leveraged opportunity like MLM, direct sales, social retail. If you're curious about why I chose the business I chose, just shoot me a message. Let's have a conversation about it. I love where I am for a lot of reasons. Crunchy Girl, nice, clean products. They work really beautifully for people. They're very visible. They're really geared towards sharing on social media. And I love that people can earn a really good income by sharing the product without building a team. Although I love the team building thing. Okay. So message me. Let's talk about it. I love what I do. Now, if you bake cookies, if you create art, if you write, whatever thing you do, if you are currently working and your work is more of that self-employed role. Okay. If you're a hairdresser, an esthetician, if you're like running a workout club, whatever it is, if you are trading your money for time, I work when I show up. Consider adding in an additional stream of income that is leveraged. Okay. So your most simple next step is a social retail direct sales model because that is like, boom, here it is. Ready made, built business. They've got the marketing materials, they've got the product already, they've got the warranty, they've got the customer service piece. You become the face of the product by you. Okay. So you're not the face of the product, you're the face of your version of the product. Why do you love it? Why are you sharing about it? What's it going to give to your people? Okay. It's got to be aligned. This is why you need a coach. Work through this piece. It's got to be aligned. But so much of the back office burden is lifted off your shoulders. Okay? So that's my piece about direct sales and all of that. Now, we're going to increase our income. How are we doing that? I gave you a little preview just now. We're going to find a way to step out of trading money for time because the only way to grow our income when we're trading money, two ways. The only two ways to grow our income when we're trading money for time. Listen, the only two ways to grow our income when we're trading money for time are either to increase our skill so that we can charge more in the marketplace or work more. And the easiest, the most efficient scaling opportunity is to work more. This is how we end up with burnout, you guys, because we end up getting on this rat race mode where we're just like, okay, but I need to add to my income. So I'm going to add another client. I'm going to add another client. And we wipe out and we burn out and we end up with adrenal fatigue and we end up having to like cancel all of our bookings. And then we end up in worse shape than we were before. So that is why getting really strategic and elevating in our business and going, okay, how can I leverage my time today becomes so powerful. Okay, so we can add a bucket. And let me just note for you listen, this is so important for us to understand. This is so important to understand. We tend to think as a culture, we are the one thing we do. We have a job, one, okay? But if you look at the way millionaires think, the average millionaire has 7 streams of income. That is not 7 jobs. 7 streams of income. That may look like this. Well, I have my job, which is to write books. And then I have the podcast that I run, and then I have the blog that's monetized and the YouTube channel that's actually monetizing as well, but it's actually clips from the podcast. And then I'm on Twitter and I get sponsorships, and those sponsorships come from the content that I've already created from the book and the podcast. And then I also have an apparel store, and the apparel store isn't something I even have to think about because it's just clips from my speaking, and then those get put on. And then the podcast has actually got sponsorships to it as well because I just bring on the brands that I really like and I talk about them and I get a cut from that. And so there are and then the money that I make from all of this goes into a real estate investment organization, and then I also have money in the stock market, right? So we have this kind of like engine that starts to move and starts to be self-propelling and just grows and grows and grows, right? We can do the same thing. We can do the exact same thing. So, for example, you've got a bread business. You're making homemade bread. And then you're like, well, people ask a lot of questions about my favorite bread recipes or how it is that I'm able to incorporate making bread when I'm also homeschooling my children, or how it is that I'm able to run a farm and do the bread thing and also, have a really amazing ministry. And so then I write a little ebook about that. And then I also have affiliate links to the products that I love to use. And then I also have a company that's really aligned for me, that's part of my self-care routine. That's how I stay stable and stay kind of aligned and everything like that. And so then I have that piece and I have an affiliate link to that product that I really love and I share about that as well. And then I get brought in on podcasts and I get to start speaking about this and I start to earn an income from doing that. And then after the ebook goes really well, then I actually write a written book too, or I'm monetizing on YouTube from the speaking that I'm doing. Okay, so in this digital age in which we live, we can create many different options. We can create a lot of different streams of income, a lot of different ways in the door. Interestingly enough, and then we push it out to investments, okay? Interestingly enough, when people spend $5 with you, they are disproportionately likely, like, I don't know what the percentage is, but significantly more likely to then go ahead and buy the $100 offer and the $1,000 offer and the $10,000 offer from there. What do people ask you about all the time? You have not even noticed it most likely because you're like, "Yeah, well, of course. I mean, obviously, that's what I talk about. It's like it's all people know about me." We don't notice it because it's our gifting. We don't notice that one of my pastors used to say, "Fish don't know they're wet." Okay? We don't even recognize the gift because it's so much a part of who we are. Elevate for a minute, friends. Think about it. What conversations are you always having? What do people call you asking for? Okay? I had a really hard time pinning this down because for me, people called me for all kinds of things, but that's kind of part of my deal. I'm like, I call myself a little spider. Like, come to the hub, right? Come to the hub, and then I'll send you out. Oh, I know this great blog. Oh, there's this amazing, wellness thing. Oh my gosh, I love this mama author, whatever. There's always some resource that I found that I share with my people. Okay? So, why do people come to you? And then we tend to think it's a bad thing. Okay, we're gonna break some money stories, okay? Okay. We're gonna break some money stories. Here's the deal, and we're gonna do more this summer. This is kind of what I feel like we need to be talking about right now. Here's the deal. We tend, especially as believers, to think that we are wrong to charge for our services. But people actually impute value to something based on its sticker price. So if you give something away to someone that is valued very highly, you're actually robbing them of their own transformation. I'm going to say that again. If you choose to give something away that has very high value and as a result undervalue it in the eyes of the other person, you are stealing their transformation from them because they're going to get in, they're going to go, oh, okay. Yeah, it was free, whatever. I'm preaching to myself. I'm like, my guide that I have, my Overwhelmed to Overcomer guide, it's not a free guide. It's free. but the value of that guide as far as what it can do to shift your state is far and above. I mean, like, it's obviously it's far and above free. And there's value in giving away value. But if we never charge anything for anything we do, then people will regard it as being worth what you're charging, right? And then that's the level of connection and engagement they'll give it, and then that's the level of transformation they're gonna get, okay? The coach that I work with says money is essentially the way he said it was so beautiful, and I don't quite have it down, but essentially it's like a packaged, emotional exchange, okay? So, for example, you hire a coach. They help you feel more empowered and equipped and encouraged to do the work you're called to do in the world. You pay them in exchange for that feeling. I'm giving you money for the feeling of transformation that you've given me. And then the coach turns around and pays that money to go see a concert with their kid. And then the people at the concert venue turn around and put that money out into advertising to bring in more people to come see the next concert. And then the people that are coming in to see that concert, they're coming in because of the emotional experience that they've created that put money in their pockets. And so, um, money can just keep on moving as we continue to add value to other people's lives. The money's not meant to just sit in your hands. Push it back out into the world and do so in a meaningful way. Okay. Okay, so we're going to look beyond simply trading money for time, and we're going to talk about how can we leverage our income. And then, because we've already done the work to cut our expenses, we're going to do the last piece of this thing, which is we're going to sow that money into assets. Okay. So this is where we do the index funds in the stock market. This is where we do the real estate investment trust. This is where we start saving money for a down payment on a rental property. This is where we start to look at whether we can get some gold or silver, or we start to look at putting things in the Roth IRA, that type of stuff. And we push that money out so that it can work for us, so that over time, as we continue to do this, we're lifting the bar of our stewardship. We have more money in the bank, we have more room to breathe, and we have more to give. Okay? All right. So we're going to decrease our expenses because money is precious, and we're going to treat it that way. Okay? It does matter. It matters whether we choose, especially, listen, especially if it's feeling tight, because here's the deal. And I get into this trap too. There reaches a point where expenses can feel so overwhelming. The gap between where we are and where we need to be can feel so large that the idea of choosing not to buy a $5 coffee can feel like it's like irrelevant. What good is that going to do? It's a drop in the bucket compared to where we need to be. When we flip our mindset and say it all matters, I'm going to be faithful in all of it. When we choose to be faithful and we say it all matters and I'm going to mark all of it, all of a sudden it shifts our regard for money and we start to see it as a valuable tool that we need to be mindful of at all levels. And as we do that, the coffers start to grow. And then we start to feel more abundant and we start to feel more at rest and go, it's going to be okay. We're going to make it through this season because we're careful and we're thoughtful and intentional. And when we're thoughtful and intentional, not only will we be saving money, but we will be on the lookout. Okay. What else can I do? How else can I steward well? How else can I add value to the world? And as we ask that question, then we're going to see opportunities where we didn't see them before. Okay? All right. So we're saving our money. We're looking at ways that not only can we trade money for time, but we can also leverage our time. Okay? And bring in streams of income in an alternative and flexible way. And then we're going to send that money out as assets, purchasing assets that can keep this engine rolling so that we can feel more abundant and we can have more income coming in. Okay? All right, friends. So that was kind of a more technical conversation. How you hanging? How did this land? Are you like 101, already know all this stuff, breezed right past it? Are you sitting here going, never really thought of it this way? Is Robert Kiyosaki a new name? Is this whole rich dad, poor dad concept new to you? Message me, find me on social media. I want to hear what you have to say. And listen, if these podcasts are landing for you, be sure to share them with people. I would be so grateful if you would drop a review, if you would send an episode to a friend that you liked. All of these things are just ways to keep the conversation going so I can continue to serve you better. All right, until next time, you got this. Thank you so much for joining us for this episode of She Considers a Field. If you found value in this episode, I would be so grateful if you would leave a review wherever you listen to your podcasts, and be sure to share with a friend who needs some encouragement on her journey today too. Until next time, remember, you've got this because he's got you.